The door to the conference room swung open with a hiss of pressurized air. And there she was, Elena, striding in like a storm cloud dressed in a tailored suit. Her eyes, cold as a winter audit, fixed on me across the table where I was midway through debugging the latest algorithm. "Sarah, you're being reassigned," she announced, her voice slicing through the hum of laptops and murmured discussions like a knife through silk. No preamble. No softening blow. Just those words, delivered with the kind of false authority that comes from a recent promotion and zero scars from the trenches. Beside her, Tom from HR shifted uncomfortably, his ties suddenly too tight, avoiding my gaze as if I'd already become a ghost in the room. My fingers froze over the keyboard. The code on my screen blurred for a split second, the very framework I'd architected from scratch. The neural network that could revolutionize how hospitals predicted patient outcomes. 3 years of sleepless nights, of fighting through regulatory red tape, of convincing skeptical investors that this AI could save lives without invading privacy. And now this? I didn't explode. I didn't beg or bargain. That wasn't my style. Instead, I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence stretch until it felt heavy, almost tangible. "Reassigned to what?" I asked, my tone even curious, almost like we were discussing weekend plans. Elena's lips thinned. "Details will follow. Hand over your access credentials and walk us through the current sprint." Us. As if Tom was anything more than a witness to her power play. I glanced at the whiteboard behind me, smeared with my sketches of data flows and ethical safeguards, equations I'd derived in coffee-fueled marathons. No mention of the FDA submissions I'd led, the partnerships I'd forged with medical boards across 5 states. Just her clipboard, clutched like a talisman, and that smug tilt to her chin. I logged out slowly, deliberately, then forwarded a single email from my phone, the one with the original partnership agreement attached. "Done," I said, standing. I grabbed my backpack, leaving my mug on the table, steam still rising from the untouched coffee. As I walked past her, I caught the faint tremor in her hands. She thought this was a clean cut, but she'd just nicked an artery she didn't even know existed. Outside, the Seattle rain pelted the windows of the tech firm's lobby, mirroring the slow build of tension in my chest. I didn't head home. Instead, I ducked into a nearby cafe, the kind with exposed brick and overpriced lattes, and pulled up my personal drive. There it was, the master repository. Not the company's shared cloud, that was for show. This was the real backbone. The encrypted vault where I'd stored every iteration of the AI's core logic. Every signed NDA. Every compliance certification tied to my name as the project's originator and custodian. Back when this all started, in a cramped startup incubator off Pioneer Square. It was just me and a handful of coders hacking away at prototypes over ramen noodles. I pitched the idea to Cascade Health Ventures during a lightning round at a biotech conference. What if we could flag sepsis risks hours before symptoms hit, using anonymized data streams? They laughed at first, then listened. I sealed the deal with a handshake and a contract I drafted myself, poring over legal templates late into the night with advice from an old law school buddy. Custodial rights? Mine. IP oversight? Locked under my credentials. Data governance? Non-transferable, without board approval. I hadn't flaunted it. We were a team, or so I believed. Milestones flew by. Beta tests in local ERs. Glowing pilot results. Whispers of multi-million-dollar grants. But as the project swelled, so did the egos. Elena arrived 6 months ago, fresh from a rival firm. All buzzwords and ambition. She started inserting herself, reorganizing sprints, claiming credit in status reports. I let it slide, focused on the code. Until today. That forwarded email? It wasn't just notes. It was the trigger clause. Buried in Section 8.2, any alteration in custodial leadership requires unanimous legal and board consent, or all assets revert to lockdown. She'd bypassed it entirely, assuming her title trumped the fine print. I sipped my coffee, watching the rain streak the glass. The hum in my veins wasn't rage, it was anticipation. Like waiting for thunder after the flash. By evening, the first ripples hit. My phone buzzed with a text from Mia, one of the junior devs. Access denied on the main repo? What's up? I didn't reply. Let them puzzle it out. Instead, I cooked dinner, pasta with basil from my windowsill garden, savoring the normalcy as my inbox filled with automated alerts. System flags. Unauthorized credential revocation detected. Compliance breach logged. Sent to legal, ops, and the C-suite. Elena probably thought it was a glitch. Something IT could fix with a ticket. But this wasn't a bug. It was by design. I'd embedded those safeguards when we integrated HIPAA protocols, ensuring no one could tamper without tripping wires. The next morning, chaos bloomed slow and steady. I woke to voicemails. The lead investor from Cascade wanted a status call. A partner hospital reported stalled data feeds. Elena's email, CC'd to half the firm. Temporary hiccup, resolving ASAP. I imagined her in her glass office. Pacing, her confidence cracking like thin ice. She didn't know the vendor contracts for our cloud servers were still in draft, held in my personal escrow until final milestones. Or that the AI's training datasets were watermarked with my digital signature, uneditable without my key. She'd tried to sideline me, but I'd woven myself into the project's DNA. Not out of paranoia, but prudence. In tech, ideas are currency, and I'd learned early to protect mine. As the day wore on, the pressure mounted. A ping from legal. Urgent review needed. I responded with attachments, the full custodial chain. Timestamps intact. No accusations. Just evidence. The kind that speaks for itself. The call came that afternoon. From Rebecca Lang, the firm's general counsel. Her voice was measured, like she was navigating a minefield. Sarah, we've encountered some discrepancies in the transition. Discrepancies. A polite word for the mess Elena had unleashed. The custodial clause is active, I replied calmly. Any changes need board sign-off. A pause. The sound of pages flipping. We're convening a panel tomorrow. Your presence would be appreciated. Appreciated. As if I had a choice. But I did. This was my leverage. I agreed. Then spent the evening reviewing logs. Tracing every access attempt. Elena had tried 3 times to force entry, each flagged and denied. The system I'd built wasn't just smart, it was loyal to its architect. That night, sleep came fitful, dreams of code unraveling like threads. But beneath it, a quiet resolve solidified. This wasn't about vengeance. It was about integrity, the unseen scaffolding that holds empires together. Elena had mistaken visibility for value, title for tenure. Tomorrow, the truth would surface, not with a bang, but with the inexorable logic of lines she'd never bothered to read. The panel room smelled of stale coffee and recycled air, the fluorescent lights buzzing faintly overhead like distant bees. I arrived early, choosing a seat at the far end of the polished oak table. My laptop closed, posture relaxed. Rebecca entered first, nodding curtly, followed by the CTO, Marcus, his face etched with lines of barely contained frustration. Then Elena, slipping in last, her usual poise frayed at the edges, hair slightly disheveled, eyes darting. She avoided looking at me, focusing instead on stacking her notes with unnecessary precision. Marcus cleared his throat, breaking the tension. Let's cut to it. The project's frozen. Vendors are pulling back. Data pipelines are locked. Explain. Rebecca leaned forward, projecting a slide of the contract, Section 8.2 highlighted in glaring yellow. Custodial transfer wasn't cleared. All assets are in limbo until resolved. Elena's voice jumped in, higher than usual. This is a misunderstanding. I followed protocol for reassignments. But her words hung hollow, echoing off the walls. Marcus turned to me. Sarah, walk us through the safeguards. I spoke evenly, emotion tucked away. The AI's core was mine from inception, the patents filed under my name, the ethical frameworks I'd negotiated with ethicists at Johns Hopkins. Every layer of security tied back to that original agreement. Elena interrupted. But as director, Rebecca cut her off. Titles don't override contracts. The room grew heavier, the air thick with unspoken accusations. Marcus rubbed his temples. How do we unlock this? Simple, I said. Reinstate custodial access. Elena's face paled, realization dawning like a slow sunrise. She'd built her castle on sand, ignoring the bedrock beneath. Post-meeting, the corridors buzzed with whispers. I returned to my desk, temporarily reinstated, and fielded calls from partners. Feeds are back up, one said. Relief evident. But the damage lingered. Elena's team scattered, morale dipping as word spread. She'd painted me as expendable. But now the narrative flipped. I dove back into the code, optimizing algorithms that could detect anomalies in real-time patient vitals. It felt right, like slipping into well-worn shoes. Yet, beneath the focus, an undercurrent of betrayal simmered. We'd started as collaborators. How had it soured? Elena's ambition. Perhaps climbing ladders without checking their stability. That evening, a text from her. Can we talk? I met her in the empty lobby, rain lashing the glass outside. She looked smaller, deflated. I didn't know about the clauses, she admitted, voice cracking. Thought it was just bureaucracy. I nodded, letting silence fill the gap. It wasn't just clauses, it was trust eroded, contributions erased. She apologized, words tumbling out, but they felt scripted, lacking depth. I walked away, the encounter leaving a bittersweet taste. Not victory, but validation, the quiet kind that rebuilds from within. Weeks blurred into a rhythm of progress. The project surged forward under my guidance. Milestones hit with precision. Marcus pulled me aside one day. We're restructuring. Your role's expanding, lead custodian with direct reports. No fanfare. Just facts. Elena faded into the background, reassigned to peripheral tasks. Her influence waning. I caught glimpses of her in meetings, input minimal, eyes downcast. It stirred a pang, not schadenfreude, but reflection on how fragile hierarchies are. In tech's cutthroat world, one misstep can unravel years of ascent. I mentored juniors, sharing lessons, document everything, own your work. The AI went live in a pilot at Seattle General. Early detections saving a handful of lives already. Pride swelled, mixed with the weight of what almost was lost. Elena's fall wasn't my doing, it was the system's. Impartial and unforgiving. Yet, it prompted questions. What drives us to undermine others? Ambition's shadow. Perhaps. As I coded late one night, the office empty save for the hum of servers, I pondered the human element in our machines, flawed, resilient, ever-evolving. The investor gala loomed, a glittering affair in downtown Bellevue. I arrived in a simple black dress, the AI demo ready on my tablet. Marcus introduced me as the visionary behind it all. Applause rippled. Genuine. Elena was there, mingling on the fringes, Her smile strained. Our eyes met briefly. She nodded, a ghost of acknowledgement. Later, alone on the balcony, city lights twinkling below, I felt the tension release. This wasn't an end, but a pivot, the story continuing, richer for the conflict. What if she'd succeeded? The thought lingered, a whisper of alternate paths. But reality grounded me. Strength lies not in loud claims, but in the quiet architecture of one's legacy. Months in, the project's pulse quickened. We expanded trials to 3 more hospitals, data streaming seamlessly, algorithms adapting in real time. I led briefings with a confidence honed by fire, my voice steady amid boardroom scrutiny. Elena's presence became spectral, emails terse, contributions sparse. Rumors swirled. She was job hunting, polishing her resume with selective truths. One afternoon, in the break room, she approached, coffee in hand. "Sarah, about before." Her words trailed, eyes pleading for absolution. I listened, the air thick with unspoken regrets. "I underestimated you," she confessed. Thought speed trumped depth. I sipped my tea, letting her words settle. Forgiveness wasn't mine to grant, growth was hers to claim. We parted neutrally, a fragile truce. But it stirred deeper currents, how corporate climes breed isolation, turning allies into adversaries. I channeled it into the work, refining ethics modules to flag biases, ensuring the AI served equitably. A late-night epiphany struck. Add predictive equity checks. Code flowed, hours melting away. Dawn broke as I committed the changes. A quiet triumph. The breakthrough came during a routine audit. Legal flagged a potential vulnerability, data silos that could expose patient info. I traced it back to an early integration Elena had pushed, hasty and unchecked. Fixing it took days, but it solidified my role. Marcus praised it in an all-hands. Sarah's foresight averted disaster. Elena wasn't mentioned. Her shadow receded further. I mentored a new hire, Alex, sharing war stories. "Always read the contracts," I advised, half smiling. He nodded, wide-eyed. The human drama unfolded parallel, team lunches where laughter masked undercurrents of loyalty shifts. One dev confided, "We knew you built this." Validation, warm and unexpected. Yet, doubt crept in. Had I been too passive? No. Patience had been my weapon. The slow damming of waters until the floodgates gave. Elena's reassignment memo landed. Strategic advisory. A demotion in disguise. I felt no glee. Only a somber recognition of ambition's cost. A crisis hit mid-trial, a false positive at a partner site, alerting staff to non-existent risks. Panic emails flew. I dove in, tracing the glitch to an unvetted update, Elena's last input. Hours of debugging. Coffee-fueled. Until resolution. The fix not only stabilized but enhanced accuracy by 12%. Post-mortem meeting. Elena joined remotely. Her input minimal. Marcus deferred to me. "Lead us through it." I did. Diagrams unfolding the narrative. She logged off early, screen blinking like a closed chapter. Relief washed over me, not from her diminishment, but from the project's resilience. Lives hinged on this. Personal egos paled. That night, walking home under starry skies, I reflected on Mouthwan, the clash of wills that forges stronger bonds or breaks them irreparably. What ethic guides us in such arenas? The question lingered, unanswered. As rain began to fall, expansion talks accelerated. Cascade poured in funds, eyeing national rollout. I negotiated terms, custodial clauses ironclad. Elena's name vanished from docs. A quiet erasure. At a team offsite, stories flowed. Hers became cautionary, mine inspirational. But I steered clear of gloating, focusing on unity. A private moment. Email from her? Congrats on the funding. Terse.
But sincere?
I replied neutrally. Closure. Perhaps. The story's arc bent toward hope, yet shadowed by the what-ifs. In America's corporate tapestry, such tales weave common threads: ambition, oversight, redemption's elusive grasp. The national launch loomed, tension coiling like a spring. I oversaw final integrations, teams humming with purpose. Elena resurfaced in a LinkedIn post, lessons from leadership pivots.
Vague.
Self-serving. Comments trickled in. Some pointed. Check the fine print next time. I scrolled past, focusing inward. A board dinner. Toasts to innovation. My name invoked. Marcus pulled me aside. You're indispensable. Words that once might have soothed now rang true. But indispensability breeds isolation, late nights alone with code. Relationships strained. My partner, Jamie, understood. But the toll showed in quiet dinners interrupted by pings. This is your baby, he'd say. Supportive yet weary. Balance eluded. Mouth one internal now. A setback. Regulatory pushback from the FDA. Questioning data provenance. I presented the chain, my signatures throughout. Approval came swift. A nod to thoroughness. Elena's prior haste might have sunk us. Gratitude mixed with resentment's echo. I visited a pilot site, seeing the AI in action. A nurse crediting it for early intervention. Tangible impact. Lives touched. Emotions swelled. Tears pricked. This was why. Back at HQ. A confrontation brewed. Elena requested a meeting. For closure. We met in a neutral cafe. She looked worn. Ambition dulled. I sabotaged myself, she admitted. Jealous of your foundation. Vulnerability cracked her facade. I shared my side. The hurt of erasure. Dialogue flowed. Not absolution, but understanding. Human frailty laid bare. We parted lighter. Foes no more. Post-launch. Acclaim followed. Articles in Wired. Features on CNN. I spoke at conferences. Stories sanitized for inspiration. But privately, the ordeal haunted. How close to loss. Mentorship became my outlet, guiding others through pitfalls. Elena left the firm quietly, starting anew at a smaller startup. Word reached me. She was thriving. Lessons learned. Redemption's arc. Slow and real. Our paths diverged, but the mouth one shaped us. In the quiet of my office, screens glowing, I pondered ethics. Does power corrupt or reveal? The question echoed. A moral compass for future storms. Years on, the AI evolved into standard care, embedded in hospitals nationwide. I stepped into advisory. Legacy secure. Reflections deepened. Elena's fall. My rise, a mirror to societal climes. What drives the undercut? Insecurity. Perhaps. Masked as strategy. I wrote anonymously, sharing insights without names. Impact rippled. Readers messaged. Lives steered. Jamie and I traveled. Balance restored. A chance encounter. Elena at a conference. Poised anew. We exchanged nods. Past buried. Her success. Genuine now. Sparked no envy, only respect for resilience. The story closed not with triumph's fanfare, but quiet contemplation in America's meritocratic dream. Who truly owns the narrative? The builder or the system? The ambiguity lingers. An ethical riddle for the ages.